there, thanks for tuning in. This is the Tammy Tine Design YouTube channel. I'm Tammy, and today I'm creating a one-page layout with two photos. If these papers are familiar to you, I'm working with papers I pulled in one of my recent videos where I made some page kits. I'll link that video here if you'd like to watch it. I have one sheet of American Crafts white cardstock. I have two papers from Jen Hadfield's Reaching Out collection. The blue paper is one I pulled from my B-Sides Rainbow. It's from Keep It Simple and it's just white grid lines on a light blue background. And from my scrap drawer, I found this green Echo Park Dots and Stripes paper. It's not a full sheet, but there's plenty here for what I will need it for on this layout, so a scrap paper is perfect. My plan is to add a little bit of inking in the background on the white cardstock. The photos I'm using are outdoor shots and there were trees around us, so I thought I would try to bring that idea into my layout. I'm going to use this block stencil first. This is by Clear Scraps. This is perfect for backgrounds and will help ground other elements to my page. Over the block, I'm going to layer this stencil from the Crafter's Workshop and add some of the leaves. Inking is a great way to add layers without bulk. The colors I'll use are Distress Oxide Uncharted Mariner to add the blocks. I thought this would be a good match back to the blue stripes in the paper. I will add the leaves with Martini from Catherine Pooler. So this one will have a little bit of mixed media. If you're new to scrapbooking or crafting and aren't familiar with the term mixed media, it just means I'm going to add a combination of different materials and mediums together on my layout. I pulled several alphabets. I want to have blue in my title, so I have two alphabets. One is wider and one is more narrow. I'll need to see how much room I have before I can pick one. These are the photos I'm using on my layout. We were at a block party in our town. Our town has events like this all the time and they block off the streets. And this night, a band played a couple of sets. One of the colors I really wanted to match to in my photos is this peachy pink color in my shirt. That's why I pulled these rose gold letters. The straight paper has the color, but none of the other papers do. So I'm going to add more of that color with the letters in my title and with some of the embellishments. I pulled a variety of things and have them on my tray. I have two different styles of enamel dots and a fun rainbow of doodlebug hearts. I dug deep into the stash and pulled out some old school studio calico wood veneer. I won't use everything here, but I pulled some cameras and arrows and geotags. I already pulled some larger stars that are in my bowl, and I'll add in some smaller stars as well. I have some die cuts here from various ephemera packs. I'm also going to use some phrase tags from my green cluster builders kit. I've had this wood veneer piece that says "You rock" for a long time, and this will finally make it on a layout. I also cut some leafy bits with some metal dies in my stash to layer on top of the leaves I'm going to ink in the background. Here are the bigger wood veneer stars. I also have some enamel flowers here, but I won't use them. I have the entire green cluster builders kit in the bowl. This is a printable I offer in my shop, and I'll add the link in the description box. That's everything I have so far. I'm going to go ahead and cut my papers and do the background inking. The background inking is done, and I cut my papers into 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch strips. I just put my stencil down and inked the Uncharted Mariner color over the top of the stencil with an inking brush to put these blocks in the background. And then I slid the stencil over and added two more on the side. I repeated the process with the leaves stencil. Using another inking brush, I stenciled the leaves with Catherine Pooler's Martini color and layered the leaves on the blocks. Nothing complicated. This is a super easy technique to add to your layouts. Most of this inking will get covered up with embellishments, but I don't mind. It still helps to add in layers in the background. I cut my white cardstock to 11 1/4 inches square, and this will get mounted on my light blue background. And this is the base for my page. I cut all of the pattern papers into strips. We were at a concert and the mood was fun, so I want that page to reflect that feeling. Rather than cut blocks to layer, I wanted all of the papers in thin strips. The strips will be layered a bit and staggered to add a little bit of interest behind the photos. I'm not going to map my photos, so the strips will act as a frame and help draw attention to the center of the page. I did figure out the placement of my photos so I could see how much room I would have for my title. I was able to go with the larger, thicker alphabet. I do have my title on wax paper already, and it says Sanford Block Party, and will go under the left photo. The main cluster will go around the photo on the right. I'll also add a cluster at the seam of my two photos on the top where the inking is, and I'll add a smaller bit with the title. Let me glue all of this down. Okay, my background papers are down. My photos and my title are glued down. My photos only have a little bit of adhesive in the middle, so I can still layer behind them if I need to. And now I can work on my favorite part, the embellishing. I haven't mounted my background to the blue pattern paper yet. I will do that after I hand stitch a few of the strips. That way I'm not trying to stitch through several layers of paper. I cut my paper into strips and staggered them a bit when I glued them down. And having all of the color around the photos helps draw attention to the center of the page where the photos are. I'm going to start building my clusters up. So let me go through the bowl and see what will work with the space that I have. We were at an outdoor concert. Orlando has an amazing spasmatics band. If you've never heard of them, it's kind of like a franchise group. There are spasmatic bands in other cities around the country, and it's a tribute band and they perform 80s hits. Everyone in the band plays a stereotypical 80s character, and it's just a really fun time. So I pulled things like this mixtape and a Polaroid camera, and there's a guitar in here somewhere. It's not like I have an 80s rock concert ephemera set, although that's a pretty cool idea. I know I'd buy that. Instead, I had to pull different icons from different collections. I have most of these images in different sizes, but it looks like the biggest mixtape and the biggest Polaroid camera will both work, and I like how they look layered in the corner. There's the smaller cassette tape, and there's another Polaroid camera along with some smaller cameras. And there's the blue guitar. I definitely want to add that. I think this came from a Kaiser Craft Boys collection, if I recall correctly. When I make pages like this, I'm reminded why it's important sometimes to keep die cuts. If I know I'm never going to use something and it's not my style, I will definitely purge it. But you just never know when a subject will come along and you'll need a bunch of random stuff like this. You can also see the larger open wood veneer stars. Stars are a perfect motif to add to a concert page. I also have two tickets in that peachy pink color that I'm trying to get on my page, so I want to add these for sure. I just need to figure out where to put them. I do have some die cuts from the Reaching Out collection, which coordinates with two of the pattern papers I'm using. The heart die cut that says love came from there, and the red flag that says yay. But honestly, I didn't think too many of the ephemera pieces from that collection matched what I want to do on my layout. I'm not one to just add die cuts because they came from a coordinated embellishment set. I'd rather spend a little more time looking through my stash to find bits and pieces that truly support the photos or the story I'm trying to tell. I really like the heart globe die cut. The colors are perfect. I'm going to add that at the top to cover up the seam where my photos come together. I have three different word phrase tags from my green cluster builder collection. One of them will go in each of the clusters. And I'm already starting to fuss with each one to see what works best. It will probably change 3 or 4 times before I'm done. I was super excited when I found that You Rock wood veneer piece. I don't think it's going to show up very well on the white background, but maybe I can back it with my green label. That will help the words stand out a little better. I always pull way more embellishments than I'll ever use on one layout, but I'd rather have more than I need. I find I don't always know what's going to work until I start building out my clusters. I like how the bottom cluster is looking, so I want to glue this down before I fuss too much and lose that composition. This was the first time we saw the Spasmatics play. We've seen them several times since then, but this concert was kind of special. It was May of 2021, and COVID was still around. My husband and I both went to concerts a lot before we met, but after COVID, neither one of us was too keen to walk into an indoor arena with 25,000 people to see a concert. But outdoors? Yes, please. So we went to this block party and had a blast rocking out to popular 80s tunes. It was May, so the Central Florida heat wasn't excruciating yet, and it wasn't raining every day like it does in the summer. We found a new band to follow around Central Florida. They play concerts out at Disney Springs and Epcot, and they even play shows near where my dad lives, so we'll probably drag him out to see them at some point. If you're ever in Central Florida and the Spasmatics are playing while you're here and you like 80s rock tunes, I highly recommend their show. It's so much fun. I'm just adding a green geotag above the word Sanford. I keep trying to add that green die cut heart somewhere on the layout, but I will eventually pull it off because it just never fit right. I will add one of the open star wood veneer pieces to each of my clusters. I was so happy to find that I still had one in each of the different sizes because I need one of each. I'm fussing with the green leafy die cuts, and it's going to take me a minute to figure out how it's going to look best under the U Rock wood veneer. I'm also going to add another leafy die cut down by my title, which will give me a base to build up the word phrase and the geotag together. I finally settled on the right combination, so I'm going to glue down all of the embellishments in the top cluster. The only die cut I added foam adhesive to was the heart that says love. It was the one piece that I felt needed a little dimension. I just grabbed my other wood veneer stars. Rather than add the acrylic flowers that are there on my desk, I'm going to add a few of these small stars to play off the bigger ones I've already glued down. I know I want to put one right there on the seam between the tickets and the mixed tape die cut. And I'm going to add a few more to the other embellishment clusters. I do think the stars work better with the theme I'm creating here than just adding in the flowers. It's funny how you plan in your mind how you want a page to go, but once you start creating, it can go in a totally different direction. I'm okay with that. I'll just save the flowers for another project. I'm going to use glossy accents to glue down the wood veneer. I think it's a bit of a stronger adhesive and works great for dimensional embellishments. So what's left? To complete my layout, I'm just going to add some enamel dots. These blue enamel dots come in four shades, and one of them is a good match back to the blue paper I'll mount my layout to. I already added one to the geotag, and I'm adding a few here and there to each cluster. I'll also add some of the green dots, especially where I need contrast around my title. I'm also adding some of the doodlebug hearts. With these, I will use the peachy pink color so I can get one more splash of my shirt color on the layout. And I'll follow up with one green heart in each of the clusters. I'm grabbing the blue pattern paper that I will mount my layout to. I still need to add some stitching to a few of the strips. The thread will add another bit of texture to my layout. I'm also going to ink around the edge of my white cardstock with the Uncharted Mariner Oxide ink. And I'm going to add the name of the band at the bottom in my title. You'll be able to see all of the final details in the close ups at the end. And that's where I will call this one done. Thank you so much for joining me today. I highly recommend saving some of your leftover die cuts. You never know when you're going to need them. As always, I will add a link in the description box below to a sketch of my completed layout. See you next time.